Some of the most popular supplements being on the market right now are touted as anti-aging supplements. These supplements fall under the general heading of NAD boosters. NAD is a substance produced in the body, found in every cell, plays a pivotal role in energy production, protection of DNA. It helps to maintain heart, brain, and numerous other tissues and organs in the body. Some scientists like to say if all the NAD in the body was removed suddenly, you'd be dead in 6 seconds, which is probably true. Now, NAD boosters, there's two main NAD boosters on the market. One of them is called nicotinamide riboside, or NR, and the other one's called nicotinamide mononucleotide, or NMN. Now, the thing about that is that there's different companies that sell each one of these supplements, and each one makes claims that their supplement is better. In other words, people that sell NR say NR is the more proven form of NAD booster, whereas others say NMN is the better form because NMN is the stuff that actually is converted directly into NAD. I don't want to get into too much complex biochemistry. Suffice to say that both of these supplements, NR and NMN, are extremely expensive. They average well over $100 each. As I point out, I just wrote an article on my applied metabolics about ways to raise NAD without having to depend on these supplements. It's not that there's anything wrong with the supplements. They're relatively non-toxic. The problem is that is several-fold. For example, both NR and NMN are, as I said, very expensive. They're not affordable by a lot of people. But more importantly, the research on them is sketchy. It's paradoxical. There's some research showing that NMN might be slightly better than NR. But the point about both of these is nearly all the research related to the probable, or let's say alleged health benefits associated with NAD boosters is based on animal research. And again, I hate to sound redundant. I've mentioned this in past videos, but the truth is animal research is not always applicable to human physiology. It is less than half the time, meaning 50% of animal studies, such as studies involving lab animals like rats and mice, they don't apply to humans. Things that cause problems in mice don't cause problems in humans. Things that benefit rats and mice don't always benefit humans, and so on and so forth. So I wouldn't go by mice and rat studies, and yet that's precisely what a lot of the people that advocate the use of NAD boosters do. That's precisely what they do. Now, I hasten to add, there are human studies ongoing because of the interest in NAD. There's been a couple of human studies on NR. Some studies show almost no effect whatsoever. Other studies show benefits such as increased insulin sensitivity and supposedly beneficial effects on heart function. For NMN, there's several human studies also showing similar benefits. However, when it comes to exercise or building muscle, you want to have an NAD increase in the muscle. NAD maintains and increases the efficiency of muscle mitochondria. This is the portion of cells that produces energy as ATP and the area and the site of fat oxidation. So more mitochondria helps to maintain muscle, especially with age. A loss of mitochondria is strongly related to sarcopenia, which is the loss of lean mass or muscle with age. And NAD, if you could get it into the muscle, you can actually probably maintain muscle a lot longer, muscle and strength. Now, the thing about NAD is that, these NAD boosters, is that this is the part that really bothers me, is that nearly all the studies, including animal and human studies, have shown that the NAD boosters, meaning NR and NAD, reliably increase NAD as much as 60%, depending on the dosage. It's dose related. In other words, a lot of the studies that gave out NR and MN, they used a low dosage of 250 milligrams, which is an extremely low dosage. The reason they use that dosage is because they're unsure. This is relatively new stuff. In other words, there isn't a lot of research on the health effects of NR and MN, particularly long-term effects. So to play it safe, these scientists use the lowest dosage that would do anything, which is 250 milligrams. And as expected, the results of providing 250 milligrams to human subjects were minimal. In some cases, almost nothing occurred. They did almost nothing. The people that advocate, for example, NMN, recommend minimal dose of 1,000 milligrams a day. The higher the dose, and this is true, the higher the dose of, let's say, NMN, the greater the production of NAD. And NAD does drop. This is an important point. NAD levels do drop as you get older. They drop precipitously past the age of 50. But an important point about that is you have to understand NAD is related to energy production, energy usage. If you're sedentary and you don't exercise, your NAD is going to drop like a rock starting at about age 40. It's going to get lower and lower. And as NAD levels drop, you're going to have a lot of health problems, including neurodegeneration, in other words, brain problems, heart problems, muscle loss, all that. That's, but if you don't exercise, you're still going to get sarcopenia, and you're going to get, forget about NAD, you're going to have all kinds of health problems, including increased mortality from all causes. Cancer, cardiovascular disease, all of this increases if you don't exercise past the age of 40. Your body you have to understand, your body is a machine. Your body works on a use it or lose it basis from head to toe. If you don't use your brain disappears. The neurons die off and you get dementia. If you don't exercise, your muscles shrink, disappear, atrophy. You get frailty. Frailty leads to all kinds of diseases, cancer, and cardiovascular disease, and so on and so forth. So you have to exercise any way you look at it. I did, as I said, I've just wrote an article on my applied metabolics about ways to maintain NAD with age without the use of, without having to ingest NAD boosters. Now, if you can afford it and you want to pay the money, which is, again, it's over $100 for either of these supplements, they're extremely expensive, then go ahead, but the truth of the matter is that from the perspective of exercise and fitness, I believe one study did show NMN increase sprinting ability in human athletes. So it might make you run a little bit faster, but there's no research whatsoever that taking NR or NMN, so-called NA boosters, will help maintain muscle, because they don't get into the muscle. That's the problem. In other words, when you take the NAD boosters, they increase NAD in other tissues of the body, especially the liver, in some cases the heart, all the other organs, but not in the muscle where you really want it. If you're working out or if you're an athlete, they do almost nothing to increase NAD production in muscle. Now, here's the point of this video. This video is not really about NR boosters. I wanted to talk about a substance that you probably already are taking in. It probably costs you next to nothing, but this is going to be a shocking statement. It's probably a better NAD booster, especially in muscle, than any of the ridiculously expensive NAD booster supplements. Why am I saying you're taking this stuff in already? If you drink coffee, you're taking in a substance called trigonelline. Trigonelline, 1 to 3% of coffee beans are composed of trigonelline. When coffee is produced, when coffee beans are roasted, trigonelline increases tremendously. So when you drink coffee, you're getting trigonelline automatically. Now, trigonelline, here's the thing. Why would trigonelline increase NAD? Well, you have to understand these so-called NAD boosters like NR and NMN, what they are specialized forms of niacin. Niacin might be, or nicotinamide. Those of you who know anything about nutrition know that nicotinamide is a B-complex vitamin, but it happens to be the precursor for NAD synthesis. Just like tryptophan, amino acid is the precursor for serotonin, a neurotransmitter of the brain. Just like tyrosine is a precursor for the production of dopamine and norepinephrine, epinephrine. In other words, these are nutritional precursors. Now, what happens when you drink coffee, the trigonelline, like I say, when coffee beans are roasted, the trigonelline content increases tremendously. 17% of the coffee is actually trigonelline. Trigonelline is responsible for the familiar aroma. That famous, I don't have to tell you the aroma of coffee. Everybody knows what it smells like. That's trigonelline. When you're smelling that, the trigonelline is responsible for the aroma. But more importantly, from a health aspect, trigonelline is converted into niacin. When you take it, it's converted into niacin. In fact, you can get about 20% of your daily requirement of niacin just by drinking 1 or 2 cups of coffee. A lot of people don't know that. Now, what happens when you take the trigonelline? It's converted into niacin, and then it goes through a particular biochemical pathway, and it's converted reliably into NAD. It's converted into NAD. But here's the real interesting part. The NAD that results from consuming trigonelline from coffee goes into the muscle. It increases muscle NAD. That means trigonelline is actually a better NAD booster for muscle than the very expensive NAD boosters like NR and NMN. You'll never hear this stuff. Nobody tells you this because, there's so many people that are pushing this NR and NMN. I mean, there's one particular scientist I've talked about in the past video. I don't want to mention his name, but this guy has pushed the hell out of NMN. He's gotten a lot of people to take NMN because he has good academic credentials and they believe him. In the meantime, he just recently petitioned the FDA to have NMN removed from the market because he started a company that's going to make a drug form of NMN. And if his petition goes through, you won't be able to buy NMN. You'd have to buy the drug version. And Amazon has already stopped selling MNN because of this guy's petition. So what this guy did, he got countless people hooked on NMN because of his claims that all these lofty claims that it lowers aging, it has a rejuvenation effect. Mice that take it looks like they're regressing in age, blah, blah, blah. So he got all these people believing him because of his credentials. And what does he do? He gets them hooked on NMN, and then he petitions the FDA to have it taken off the market because he wants to produce a drug version. Now, what's his reasoning? He says the drug version will be a lot purer than the supplements, implying that NMN supplements are not pure. Well, let me tell you, the top sellers of NMN, it's 99% pure. They provide a chemical analysis of their products. They're not shy about it. His drug version of NMN, the only difference between his version and the supplemental versions of NMN will be that his drug version will be probably 10 times more expensive, and you'll have to have a prescription for it. So the point there is, be careful when you listen to so-called authorities and experts. A lot of times they have ulterior motives, and they're just trying to make money off you. So don't be impressed by advanced degrees. Trust me, I've known this. I've been writing on science for almost a half a century. I've dealt with a lot of these guys. I'm not saying all scientists are crooks and out to make, but a lot of them are just really interesting in foisting in misleading the public for their own benefit, for financial gain. So you got to be real careful. Don't be impressed by advanced degrees. But back to trigonelline. Like I say, the real great thing about it is that coffee is loaded with it. I was going to say coffee is cheap, but it's gone up in price a lot. I mean, this coffee that I buy ground coffee. I was buying one. It came in a tin can. About 3 months ago, it was selling. A tin can I think it's about 12 ounces. It was selling for $5.99. The other day, I happened to pass by it in the supermarket. It's now $10.99 for the exact same coffee. But any way you look at it, I mean, you're not going to take the whole can of coffee. I mean, most people have anywhere from 2 to 4 cups of coffee a day, and that'll give you a good amount of trigonelline, and it's still a lot cheaper than taking these NAD supplements. Now, besides increasing NAD, trigonelline does another beneficial thing. I've talked about a substance called TMAO in my applied metabolics. In fact, I'm going to do an update on it. TMAO is a substance produced by an enzyme in the liver and also by intestinal bacteria. They convert a substance called TMA into TMAO. Now, what's the point? The point is that some studies, quite a few studies actually, have linked TMO to several degenerative diseases, including atherosclerosis, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and even brain degeneration. These people, again, you have these crazy nut job scientists. The first guy that wrote about this, he was from the Cleveland Clinic, which is a famous medical clinic. And the seminal article, in other words, the first article where he identified TMAO, and he spoke about TMAO being being red meat, being a source of TMAO. And the point of his article was that it's not the fat in red meat that causes cardiovascular disease, it's the TMAO. And red meat doesn't directly contain TMAO. It contains a nutritional precursor, which is carnitine. And another nutritional precursor for TMAO is choline. In other words, when you ingest choline or carnitine, your body will convert this into TMAO. So he says that people should completely avoid taking carnitine, ingesting carnitine or choline. I remember bursting out laughing when I read that article because it was so idiotic and stupid. Choline is a very important nutrient. It's a methyl donor. Among other things, it prevents fatty buildup in the liver, what they call non-alcoholic fatty liver, which is epidemic. 20 million Americans have that. It can result in what they call liver cirrhosis and eventual liver failure and even liver cancer. And as for carnitine, well, bodybuilders know carnitine is great stuff. I mean, it may or may not help you burn fat, but what it does do is it transports short-chain fatty acids into the mitochondria where the fat is burned as energy. In other words, carnitine, to put it simply, carnitine is needed to oxidize fat. Now, it doesn't mean that taking supplemental carnitine will increase your fat burning ability because your body already produces some carnitine. But in other words, taking supplemental carnitine, depending on which study you look at, may or may not help increase fat oxidation. Some human studies say it does, others say it doesn't, because again, the same problem, it doesn't get into the muscle. However, if you take carnitine, I know I'm off on a tangent here, but please excuse me. If you take carnitine with a good amount of carbohydrate, I'm not talking a lot of carbohydrate, like 90 grams, you can increase the muscle content of carnitine by 15%. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a huge difference in the ability of muscle to burn fat. But I don't recommend this for anyone other than endurance athletes because that's just simply too much simple carbohydrate to take in. You're going to have too much of an insulin release. It's no good. But that's just one way, So, but the notion of not ingesting choline and carnitine because of TMAO is just so silly and stupid. It's ridiculous. Now, what does this have to do with trigonelline? Well, guess what? Trigonelline lowers TMAO. You heard it. Trigonelline lowers TMAO. So let's say you want to eat your red meat or eggs or other food sources of choline and carnitine, but you're a little concerned about this TMAO because you've heard all these scare stories on the internet and by these unscrupulous scientists that scare the hell out of you, telling you that TMAO is going to kill you. All you got to do is drink some coffee. The trigonelline is going to lower the TMAO, so you don't have to worry about it. You can have your eggs in and eat it too, Now, there's a couple of other things it does. Trigonelline actually blocks skin damage induced by UVB rays. Ultraviolet B rays, when you go in the sun, can induce skin damage, stimulate skin cancer, and also probably the most problematic for people that care about their appearance is that, here's a little factoid for you, 80% of facial aging is caused by exposure to ultraviolet rays, and that's UVA and UVB rays. Every time you go in the sun, that you're causing a little bit of skin damage. I just saw a video of a woman who competed, I can't remember which contest. This woman is 71 years old, and she competed in a regular beauty contest. And I'll tell you, she looks great for her age. And they interviewed her, and in the interview, the close-up showed, she didn't show any signs of facelift or plastic surgery, but this woman didn't have a single line on her face. She didn't have the kind of turkey neck you get when you get older. And she said that the reason that why her face looks so young is when she was a little girl, her mother had to start using sunblock from the time she was a child. And now she's 71 years of age. She uses it every day, the UV block stuff on the skin. And she shows no facial aging at all. She literally has the skin of the 25-year-old girls that she competed against in that beauty contest. That shows you the effects of UV rays on the skin. But anyway, trigonelline will actually prevent UVB skin damage. It also is great if you have there's an epidemic of diabetes going around, and it turns out trigonelline helps you control blood glucose, and this is the reason why studies have shown that people who drink coffee on a regular basis, about maybe at least 3 cups a day. The recommended dose of coffee, by the way, for health is 4 cups a day. I believe that's 6-ounce cups, if I remember correctly. If you drink 4 6-ounce cups of coffee, you're getting a good amount of trigonelline, and you're also getting the main health benefits of coffee, including 60% decreased risk for type 2 diabetes. And the reason is there's 2 factors in coffee that help prevent diabetes, not caffeine. One of them is trigonelline, and the other one's called chlorogenic acid, which inhibits the uptake of excess glucose into cells. That's an anti-diabetic effect. So coffee helps prevent type 2 diabetes, which is in epidemic proportions now, because trigonelline is one of the things that does it. Now, trigonelline is classified as a phytoestrogen, meaning that it's a natural, or phyto means plant, so trigonelline could be considered a plant form of estrogen, similar to soy. It doesn't have the effects of soy, but what it will do is it has maybe slightly anti-estrogenic effects. But because it's a phytoestrogen, women who, let's say, have let's say a genetic basis for estrogen-sensitive breast cancer, they shouldn't drink massive amounts of coffee. When I say massive amounts, I'm talking about maybe 8 to 10 cups a day, because then they would be getting a considerable amount of trigonelline, which is a phytoestrogen. It may or may not affect their risk for, let's say, estrogen-sensitive cancers like breast and uterine cancer. Now, the only research they've shown on that is related to soy, where some studies suggest that excessive amounts of soy could be dangerous for women. Other studies say there's no problem whatsoever. Trigonelline also has anti-cancer effects. It prevents a number of different kinds of tumors, so that it does that. It also, interestingly enough, there's most of your dental cavities are caused by a particular bacteria called Staphylococcus mutans, or S. mutans. They produce acid from, let's say, sugary foods. The acid basically more or less rots your teeth. It makes it loses the minerals of the teeth, so you wind up getting cavities. Well, there's a couple of natural substances that prevent that. One of them is green tea. Green tea blocks Staphylococcus mutans, and so does trigonelline. Trigonelline blocks the cavity-causing effects of S. mutans. Other studies show that trigonelline actually can help prevent kidney stones. It actually helps prevent kidney stones. Now, if you want to have, besides coffee, there's a couple of food sources of trigonelline. That includes barley, cantaloupe, corn, onions, soybeans, and tomatoes. But I hasten to add, these foods, while they contain natural trigonelline, they also contain much smaller quantities than coffee. Coffee is the king of trigonelline sources. There's some animal research, recent animals research, showed that trigonelline actually helped improve memory recovery in the early stages of the rodent version of Alzheimer's disease. It might do so in humans. Now, the effects of coffee are said to have a half-life of about 6 hours. It means that coffee peaks in the blood, or caffeine peaks in the blood in about an hour, but the effects of coffee last about 6 hours. Now, trigonelline, in case you're wondering, has a half-life of 5 hours. So in other words, when you drink the coffee, most of the trigonelline will be gone in 10 hours. That gives you an idea. Also, trigonelline helps prevent Parkinson's disease. Helps maintain dopamine-producing cells in the nuclear accumbens area of the brain. And what else can I say about trigonelline? Speaking for myself, the thing that excited me about trigonelline was I came across a study in a science journal showing that trigonelline appears to help prevent sarcopenia, which is loss of muscle with age. Is something that I'm concerned about. Anyone over 40 should be concerned about it. It helps prevent that. The mechanism they said was because it increases NAD in muscle, which is again, I don't mean to sound redundant, but the NAD boosters, the very expensive NAD boosters, NR, NMN, they don't do much to increase NAD in muscle. It's mostly in liver. So if you want to really get some the benefits of NAD, the two things I'd recommend are exercise, regular exercise. I'm not going to go into explanations. I do that in my article in Applied Metabolics. But exercise stimulates a certain pathway that maintains NAD production with age, meaning people who continue to exercise with age, they don't experience the drop in NAD that other people do. Because all these ads for the NAD boosters, they keep emphasizing how NAD drops after you get 50. It drops down, down, down. That's only if you don't exercise, you don't walk, and you know just sit around and do nothing. Yeah, then your NAD levels will drop for sure. But you drink coffee, you exercise, your NAD levels will be optimal, which means better health, and you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on these NAD boosters. And that's about all I'll say for Trigonelline. Good stuff. And I love the fact that it's abundant in coffee. That's great. So if you want more information about nutrition, exercise science, anti-aging research, hormone therapy, effective fat loss techniques, supplement science, which supplements work, which ones don't, hormone therapy. Did I mention that already? Hormone therapy, like testosterone therapy. I tell you, I talk about new research related to testosterone and testosterone therapy. I do talk about anabolic steroids and drugs. I don't give out anabolic steroid regimes because that's unethical. And besides which, there is no such thing as a standard anabolic steroid regime or stack. Anyone who tells you that, if you see that in videos, this is the stack that produced Mr. Olympia, they're full of crap. They're full of crap. That's strictly anecdotal. There's no scientific basis for that whatsoever. I can't stand those guys that always talk about the ideal steroid for building muscle. They're just full of crap. Don't listen to them. I'm telling you, you're wasting your time. These guys are all full of it. Anyway, so I talk about that. I cover women's health and fitness. All of this is in Applied Metabolics, www.appliedmetabolics.com. No ads. I don't push any products. You'll never see any products mentioned in Applied Metabolics. I'm not associated with any supplement company. I'm not going to try and sell you any supplements, but I will tell you the truth about supplements, which ones work and which ones don't. So subscribe today, www.appliedmetabolics.com. When you subscribe, send me an email. I'll send you an invitation to join my private Applied Metabolics Facebook page, where each day I post new information on nutrition, exercise science, and general medicine. I have an email portal on my Applied Metabolics webpage where current subscribers only can send me short questions about anything they read in Applied Metabolics or anything that comes to mind that they're curious about related to nutrition, exercise, and I'll be happy to answer their questions as an appreciation of their subscription to Applied Metabolics. So it obviously does not apply to people who are not subscribers to Applied Metabolics. I'm sorry, I only have a limited amount of time, and that's going to be given to the people that support my work, Applied Metabolics. You'd be surprised how many questions, emails I get each day. And some of them that require like 5-page answers. Like I have nothing better to do, but answer the questions. And they say, "Oh, thank you so much." Yeah, well, that's not going to help me pay my bills. So thank you, I appreciate it, but it's not going to help. To put it bluntly, things are, as you know, are very expensive these days. And by the way, speaking of expensive, Applied Metabolics is not expensive. It costs 33 cents a day. Less than a cup of latte at one of those fancy coffee places like Starbucks, but the information is priceless. The information contained in Applied Metabolics will not only help you live longer, but it'll also help you preserve muscle as you age, help you build muscle when you're younger, and also improve your health, improve your mental acuity. There's so many advantages to reading this, and the material that's applied that I cover in Applied Metabolics is off the road. It's not stuff you'll find in videos and blogs and all that. It's different stuff. I've been a writer for over half a century. I've written over, well, let's see, by now it's probably about 9,000 articles in the last 40, 50 years. So I know how to write for the public. It's easily understandable. You won't need a medical dictionary. So please subscribe to Applied Metabolics. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. It's so in depth, it's going to shock you. Listen, you don't have to read the. Some people have complained to me that it's too much information. Well, there's no law that says you have to read the whole thing in one sitting. I mean, when I read books, I'll read like a chapter or two at a time. I don't try and sit and read the whole book. You don't have to do that. You can read in parts. And even if you don't know how to read, there's programs that Microsoft offers. You can load them online that'll read the newsletter for you. You don't even need to read. You can be illiterate and could still get the benefits of applied metabolics. So, again, subscribe today. And also relating to this channel, if you like the information I provide, please, above all, subscribe. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. I post new videos every Tuesday. I think if you subscribe, they send you a notice or something. I don't know. I'm not sure how it works. But, please, and also tell others about my videos, because anyone who's a subscriber who's watched any of my videos, whether it's my channel or other podcasts that I've done, knows that I speak 100% truth. I don't mislead people. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm one of the only last bastions of truth. That's bastion, not bastard. The last bastions of truth on the internet. I'll never deceive you. That's my personal promise. So I'll end it by saying, if you want to have the best fun you'll ever have, go to your local shelter and adopt a dog. They're the best. Thank you for listening.